Hey everybody, how's it going? Hey Patty, hey Tistic. Hey cool gamer. Yeah, I'm gonna do it every day, Patty, until the book's done. It's not a very long book, so I figured why not. I put the pictures up late last, oh, I guess it was late, but I put the pictures up yesterday too on my community tab, that were in the staircase novel that I was reading. Hey Mama 3, hey Deb. I just want to see something in this book. Well, I went on Google, right? And I was like, okay, well, I want a picture of Kathleen. And then all of a sudden, all these photos came up of the crime scene. And then there was a couple. And then all of a sudden, it had a whole bunch of other crime scene photos. And I'm going, what? Really? I don't want to see any of this stuff. Like it was gruesome. It was bad of other people. Um, there was also a photo of her skull that showed all the lacerations and everything. Just want to know if it's in here. Oh, okay, I guess not. Hey, Navajo Blondie. Girl, I have you on my laptop, Al on my phone. She's live on TikTok. You guys are killing me. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna get started. My son will be here around 4, so I'll read until then. All right, now we're on the defense's case. It says defense discussed the two-fall scenario in Kathleen's death. On September 9th, 2003, a neuropathologist, Dr. Jan Lietzma, took the stand to testify that Kathleen died as a result of slipping off the steep flight of stairs twice, at the base of which she was found lifeless. Due to excessive drinking, she might be tipsy and would have fallen down for the second time after successfully balancing herself at first. I'm like that too, Mama 3. If there's two people on at the same time, like sometimes it'll be EKC and then it'll be South Queen Cindy, so I'll have one on my phone and one on my laptop. A defense professional and author in Peterson's trial conclusively maintained that Kathleen's injuries as a result of falling down the stairs led to her death, not, as purportedly stated, that she was struck on the head repeatedly. He said this even though it is contradiction to some parts of his own book. There is not a contracoup here. Prosecuting counsel Jim Hardin stated, making reference to a section of the 1987 book written by Dr. Lietzma, where he explained the state of bruising caused by injuries to the brain. The book made it known that the countercoup, which occurs on the side opposite of the area of the head that was hit, is a clear indication of falling on the back part of the head. I should put up, actually, where was that job? No, no, no. Damn it. I'm gonna put up the other photo of their head because apparently it's not here. Or not in the book. Where'd it go? There it is. So it just kind of shows you here what her head looked on the back. And they're saying that's from falling down the stairs. Yeah, okay. Dr. Jan Lietzman's testimony still gave credence to the theory that the deep cuts on Kathleen's head, despite being abundant, could very well have been a result of a fall. Oh, radon assistic. You switch between both? Yeah. No, that's not a fall. That is wow. She definitely I'm sorry, but the fire poker is missing, the one that Kathleen had got for Christmas present from her sister, right? It was a package of a few of them. That one fire poker is missing and her head looks like that. Yeah, that's not a fall from the stairs. That is a disgusting piece of shit of a man who unalived his wife. So Leedsma had spent a good period of the day being questioned by one of Peterson's attorneys. The doctor declared that the lacerations, up to seven of them, seven, with the prosecuting team stated were at the back of her head are a misconception of the injuries. He explained to the jury that falling on even a flat surface could cause a complicated gash, which might appear as though there's several smaller cuts in the scalp, but in fact are actually a result of a single large impact. However, Dr. Deborah Radish concluded the case for the prosecutors when she testified that the seven lesions found at the rear of Kathleen's head, coupled with the massive loss of blood, makes it very clear case of manslaughter. Dr. Leitsma opposed Dr. Radshit's conclusions on the stained by drawing on the stained brain cell slides, diagrams of the skull, and info from over 250 deaths caused by beatings in North Carolina, which were compiled by the Office of the Medical Examiner. Kathleen's injuries occurred from a fall and not as a result of a deadly physical assault. I don't have any better explanation of my findings at this moment, Dr. Jan said. Hey, Great Dane. Dr. Leitsma expressed to the jury that his conclusions are concrete and dependable and were substantiated when with facts that Kathleen Peterson's injuries were, number one, inconsistent with the straight lesions that can be inflicted by a weapon that is cylindrical in shape, a blow poke from the fireplace being regarded as a possible murder weapon, and number two, without a primary injury, which cancels out a possibility of a deadly beating, and number three, inconsistent with the deadly beating information collated by the examiner. I want to punch this doctor. Jurors heard the theory of the bloody stairway scene. Yeah, it was bad. On September 11th, 2003, 18 steps, a narrow stairway base, and a pool of blood. That's the picture members of the jury observed on a visit to the purported murder scene at the Petersons' home in Durham. I don't know if they were allowed to see the pictures of her body and where she lay at the foot of the stairs. I would hope so, because that right there, he'd be going away for a long time. That was not a fall. Demorge Lee, a reporter with the Riley News, was allowed to tag along with the jury. They were all involved and engrossed at the scene, taking notes and immersed in the surrounding of the staircase, he said. The rear staircase at the Petersons' home, still in a bloody state. Oh, okay. It was still, wow. Which connects the rooms on the second floor to the kitchen on the first floor, was a center of focus in Michael's murder case trial. Yeah, they would have seen it. They went to the house and the blood was still there. Crime scene cleanup didn't show up yet, I guess. They wondered how far they could ascend the steps of the stairway, the reporter said. A lot of them ascended up to 4, 5 steps and turned to look and also waved their hands, looking behind to see if they were likely to trip or if they could get a grip on themselves without tripping. The opposition counsel believed 59-year-old Peterson struck his spouse of 5 years to her demise and then proceeded to disguise it as a domestic mishap. Depending almost solely on the tangible evidence, they took into account with the 7 lesions at the back of the victim's head, the plenteous blood around the scene, and also the blood sprinkles, which all inmates she had been struck with an object, with all intimates, sorry, which all intimates she had been struck with an object. The members of the jury were driven 2 miles from the court to the Petersons' home in 2 white vehicles that availed them the opportunity to unravel conflicting reports personally, using enough pointers that could help in deciphering whether the scene was accurately being referred to as a crime scene or just a place where an unpremeditated incident occurred. Within the 1 hour spent at the Petersons' home, the jurors surveyed the kitchen, the parlor, where Peterson was held by the police officials at their arrival to the house, and then the fireplace, from which the prosecuting attorneys implied he picked up a blowpoke and used it to strike Kathleen to death. David Rudolph, who asked the jurors to make the visit, believed the journey to the house was essential as photos which were presented to them in the courtroom couldn't sufficiently give them a true picture of the narrowness of the rearward flight of steps. It was necessary that they see and assess the space themselves to ascertain the possibility of the DA's thoughts of what could have happened. David Rudolph narrated to the reporters outside the home. It's a crucial move for us so the members of the jury can see the difference between what they see in court in pictures and videos that is different from what the space really looks like. An employee at David Rudolph's law firm read a section from the account of Christina Tomasetti, a friend to Todd, Peterson's son, who visited the Petersons on the night of the demise of Kathleen. Tomasetti was about to leave at about 10:20 p.m. She observed Michael opening a bottle of wine in the kitchen with the intention to watch a movie with Kathleen while they sipped on their glasses of wine. She returned to the house at about 2:50 a.m. to witness a number of fire trucks and police cars all over the place. We discovered Miss Peterson had tripped off the stairs and struck her head, thereby incurring a terrible head injury, said Tomasetti in her statement. Defense team emphasized over the credibility of the trial. There wasn't a perfect crime scene investigation on that fatal night. However, the one carried out by police officials at the Petersons was rife with errors, testified a forensic analyst, Major Timothy Palmbeach. When the defense lawyer questioned Palmbeach, the Connecticut Division of Scientific Services director, he used his forensic science experience and said, "It's always a struggle and balance situation." Mr. Palmbeach, who earlier took the stand and later returned while the defense presented their case, said that the probability of a typical crime scene only comes after the duty of an emergency responder is to save lives, and even then, EMS officials should ensure the evidence is preserved. When a person is pronounced dead, the priority area around the victim's body should be preserved, explained Palmbach. Any evidence should be packed up separately for the protection's sake so as to prevent the possibility of a cross contamination. The scene report should be documented, and family members should also not be allowed to rush to touch the victim's body, as Peterson and his son Todd did that night. Yeah, you would think a divorce, right? No, I think he's a sick fuck, and he just likes to kill people because he did it before. Some concerns raised by Palm Beach were the victim's shoes were not packed separately, thus, cross examination could have taken effect. His glasses weren't picked up as evidence. Her glasses were not picked up as evidence. The towels at the scene were not taken. Sandals at the innocent spot weren't taken. More photos of the scene ought to have been appropriated, including very close shots of the blood splash evidence. Considering his association with the state of the Connecticut, Hardin questioned Palm Beach regarding his partnership with Henry Lee to analyze evidence and forensic facts related to the Peterson trial. The 11th hour surprise. What's not there in the fireplace? September 23rd, 2003. The most vital question needing an answer has always been, where can we find the murder weapon? The prosecutors threw light over this fact and mentioned that a tool was missing from a stand in front of the fireplace that would have been used in Kathleen's murder. Peterson's counsel brought forward an answer to the persistent question and produced a hollow brass blowpoke they supposedly found over the weekend in a good shape but dusty in Peterson's garage. Bullshit. The sensational revelation of the blowpoke created an interesting turn of events on the last day of Peterson's defense. His attorneys rested their case after 9 witnesses in 9 days, declaring that Kathleen Peterson died when she fell down the stairway accidentally and not because of a deadly beating. Did you ever bother to inquire from us if we found the blowpoke? David Rudolph asked Detective Art Holland, the lead police officer on the case. No, I did not, he replied. Did you then just presume it disappeared? Asked Rudolph. Holland answered after a pause. Disappeared or kept someplace. Rudolph then drew out a cylindrical item wrapped in a plastic bag and moved towards the witness stand. Can you see this? He asked the detective. Yes, I can, said the detective. It's a blowpoke, isn't it? Rudolph said. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. You think they get a divorce, but then you're right, the funeral, the burial, and all that goes with it is less. Same Patty. Exactly, yeah, dead. Though there wasn't a need to prove Peterson killed his wife with the blowpoke, the item was made mention of so much in the case. The opposing team, who constantly flaunted the stand-in tool to rest their case, were slightly ruffled and focused on their notes as David Rudolph queried the witnesses. Holland explained how he had intensely ransacked the Petersons' 10,000 square foot abode for a likely tool or item that could have been used to defect the 7 lesions on the back of Kathleen's head. He also compared the two tools, observing that of the defense was not of a similar size to the prosecutor's stand-in blowpoke, that it was missing the pointy metal tip. Detective Holland also discredited Rudolph's argument, which was that the blowpoke was withheld from the defense team when they visited the property room. Judge Orlando Hudson Jr., without making it known to the prosecutors, instructed David Rudolph to let the investigators take the suspected murder weapon into their custody. Rebuttal witness claimed that Kathleen was beaten to death. Yeah, anything's got to be better than prison. I mean, come on. Can't breathe. I'm sorry, I just need to use my inhaler. Oh, it's not food, I promise, Jack. And I need a sip of tea. That's the only reason I can think of too. Great Dane Mom is that he thought he'd get away with it. Professor James Michelini, on September 24, 2003, testified that Kathleen Peterson must have died after being beaten by a blunt object. The expert in injury biomechanics submitted to the jury of Michael Peterson's trial that a cylindrical light object must have been used to beat the victim to death, even if it was not necessarily a blowpoke, usually used for the fireplace. That's the thing. It seems to me that they never found the actual blowpoke that was missing. Um, the defense team brought in something that they said they found in the garage. Was the only dusty old thing that was the only missing blowpoke, right? So that doesn't confirm that that was the murder weapon. If it's hidden in the back room and it's all full of dust, that means it wasn't moved recently. Therefore, that's not the murder weapon. It's just my logic, right? Like that doesn't even make sense. According to the Duke University engineering professor, the kind of injuries the deceased sustained did not appear to have been from a full fall, but most likely from being beaten with a blunt, round object. He supported the prosecution's theory that Michael Peterson must have killed his wife by mercilessly beating her in the stairwell of their mansion in North Carolina and then covering it up as an accident. I haven't read that far through, Patty. That's what I want to know. Was it one of the set? Because if not, then yeah, exactly. I know it wasn't the murder weapon because it was full of dust. So I believe the murder weapon is still missing. He couldn't just divorce. I mean, damn, these guys getting crazy. Too many murder by husband and wife. I agree, Anna. Absolutely. Aw, really autistic? I hope that's not the case, but if it is, I'm sorry. Peterson claimed to have been outside by the pool during the incident when his wife slipped and fell on the stairs. A missing blowpoke from the fireplace suggested otherwise. His defense team, however, produced the missing blowpoke in court, claiming to have found it in the garage and asserting that it showed no signs of having been used in the attack. No shit. Peterson claimed to have been outside by the pool during the incident when, oh my god, I just read that. Sorry. I just read what was on screen and then went back to this. The defense had produced their own expert in injury biomechanics, Ferris Bandak, who claimed that a close study of the injuries of the deceased pointed towards an accident, but Professor McElhinney, in contrast, said that the number, location, orientation, and length of the victim's injuries combined with the energy amount and velocity that produced her head lacerations couldn't have been from a fall. It was full of dust, though, in the garage. So I want to know, is it part of the set or what? The learned professor, however, added a stretch to his theory by admitting that there was a rare possibility of Kathleen Peterson's death to have resulted from an accident. She could have fallen against the stairs in doorway, molding, and sustained multiple injuries. The prosecutors nonetheless still pursued the blowpoke theory as a most probable scenario. 5 months before Kathleen Peterson died, her younger sister, Lori Hunt Campbell, had paid her a visit along with sons Edward and William and their mother. This was July 2001, and Lori remembered how Edward kept playing with the blowpoke by the fireplace. She said that her sister's house wasn't baby friendly, and she had to warn baby Edward, quit playing with the blowpoke before you break something. Young Edward apparently delights in playing with guns, sticks, and swords. If what they say is true, there was a missing poker, a missing murder weapon. Prosecution witness perjured himself. On September 26, 2003, Sami Shabani found himself on the wrong side of the law, having lied to the court that he worked at Temple University. The judge ordered his testimony be discarded after a letter from Temple's psychics department chairman dated September 27, 2001 read, Mr. Shabani was a constant fraudster who was not affiliated with the institution in any way. Well, not nice. I want to know if that poker's part of the set. The entire courtroom was thunderstruck by the revelation, and the prosecutor, Jim Hardin Jr., firmly told Judge Orlando Hudson Jr. that the state would not be against the discarding of Shaibani's testimony if the court found him guilty of perjury. The judge wasted no time and ruled that Shaibani had indeed perjured himself, instructing the jury to disregard his entire testimony. Mr. Shaibani had testified that from his own perspective and test he had done of falls on stairs, Kathleen Peterson's December 2001 death could not have resulted from such a fall. See, that sucks. He went and perjured himself, and that was a good witness because he's also saying that's not from a fall. His lying could, however, land him in trouble because one could serve 10 to 20 months in jail under North Carolina law if found guilty of perjury. Do you understand, sir, that when you get on a witness stand and swear to tell the truth, that it is perjury to lie even about something like what your position is at a university? Rudolph asked Shaibani. And he says, yes, sir, I understand that. Shaibani replied. With the jury out of the courtroom, Rudolph insisted Shaibani's testimony be thrown out. Shaibani came under heavy fire from the defense team who, apart from tearing up his credentials, dismissed his experimental tests as being silly and stupid. From having volunteers fall backwards on the stairs to measure where they hit the door jamb, to asking women to attempt to drown themselves by putting their heads in the toilet. What the fuck? Shaibani's ways were truly criticized as extreme. Yeah. Another twist. Pokers reached from 2 to 4. It was a game of poker in the courthouse on September 29, 2003, where things shifted from people wondering about the missing blowpoke to having a total of 4 blowpokes in the picture. The first in the list was a demonstration tool the prosecution had used to showcase the blowpoke theory. And then the defense produced the found blowpoke, said to have been in the garage. Kathleen Peterson's sister, Candace Zamperini, had in 1986 gifted her siblings with matching blowpokes identical to the one she's owned that was now used as a demonstration tool. So it's identical, okay. So it's identical to the one she got her sister. All right. So she also brought 2 more pokes into the picture to make a total of 4. The gifted ones totally matched the missing one, bringing up the conclusion that the missing poke had been found. Same, Patty. What? It's from the sister set, so no, it's not been found. Or they're saying that Oh, okay, I get it. They're saying that the one from the garage that had dust on it is the one that's been found. That did belong to the set. Another twist in the tale was when a similar staircase fall incident could have incriminated novelist Michael Peterson as a consistent mode of killing. This was Elizabeth Ratliff's death, whose daughters the novelist had adopted, and investigators ran tests to see if Margaret Ratliff was the biological daughter of Mr. Peterson. That would have given him the motive to kill her mother, but test results were negative. Jurors now had a tough task ahead with several options on the table. They could use physical evidence like the spatter of blood found inside the khaki shorts of the novelist, who still claims to have been by the pool when the incident happened. Detective Holland argued that the missing poker could not have been in the garage because his team combed through the 10,000 square foot mansion thoroughly. I am so confused. Tuesday would see jurors go through the entire evidence presented during the novelist's trial with the judge leading a charge conference where several issues like a probable second-degree murder charge would be discussed. After what had seemed like a lifelong trial that saw 65 witnesses take the stand and blow pokes totaling to 4 emerge on the scene, Michael Peterson's murder trial had now seemed to close to the end after 3 months of twists and turns in the courtroom. On Tuesday, September 30th, 2003, a judge ordered deliberations by the jury to commence, signaling a looming end to the case. The final arguments would follow with the defense team. I'm confused about the blowpokes too, Anna. But you would think, okay, so all right. The sister brought her blowpokes to show them that yes, this is indeed the same ones that she has because she bought all her siblings a set of blowpokes for the fireplace. The missing blowpoke, supposedly, according to Peterson's side, are saying they found the missing blowpoke in the garage covered in dust. Are they lying? Because if that's the case, that the blowpoke was covered in dust, which doesn't make sense to me because the police department and everybody that was in there looked in the fucking garage and there was no blowpoke. So the fence is lying? Isn't that against the law? How does that make sense? And why the fuck did they not test it for blood if it was finally found? That doesn't make any sense to me. Sweet Melissa was in here last night and she's right. I am gonna get fucking pissed at this book. So don't mind my mouth. I don't like this at all. I think somebody moved it too. I think Michael did. I think he removed it the first night when he had the police there for his wife. He removed it, put it somewhere, who knows where, probably not even on the property for all I know, or we know. He could have drove it down to his like a park and hid it under some bush or something. Went back, got it, put it in the garage. Michael Peterson had in 1985 been a neighbor to Elizabeth Ratliff in Germany when she was found dead below the staircase. Sick. The prosecution smelled a rat in the first Peterson's degree murder trial, and that his wife of 5 years, Kathleen Peterson, was also found dead in such a staircase fall incident. To them, this was not simply a mere coincidence. Oh, the garage it was in. Yeah, it's one of the main tools. Why put it in the garage? I don't know. And then for the defense to say they found it, but it was covered in dust. It couldn't have been found covered in dust because the police already checked that area out. There was no blowpoke. So that doesn't make sense. Michael denied having been involved in the death of Elizabeth Ratliff, supporting his claim by the fact that he had raised her 2 children in good and will after her demise. The 2 kids actually supported him during the trial, which emphasized his innocence. Exactly, Patty, yeah. The rules of evidence in North Carolina have an opening where prosecutors may use evidence from acts of the past to prove to the jury about possible motive or intent of committing a crime and in eliminating any possibility of the crime having been an accident. This opening gave the prosecution a window to open up Elizabeth Ratliff's death in Germany. How Judge Orlando Hudson would address this evidence was a conscientious issue among the lawyers. Yeah, that's what they said too at the beginning of this book, that someone else could have helped him, but who? Does he have something on somebody? I don't know. Maybe one of his kids. I don't believe so. Just doing a flyby, Jen. Hi. For any of the kids home. No, I don't believe so. It was just him and his wife. Upon further investigation by the investigation team, they came to learn about another death of a woman who was also linked with Michael Peterson. Not only was Kathleen found dead on the staircase, but one of their neighbors from his previous residence died in the same way. While he was living with Patricia Peterson, his first wife and two sons, Todd and Clayton, Elizabeth Ratliff was among their good and close friends. Patricia, aka Patty, and Elizabeth were friends when they both used to teach in a German school. Then she married Michael, who later on went to serve his state in the Vietnam War. Patty moved to the Rhine-Main Air Base, situated near Frankfurt, and continued her services as a second-degree teacher. After spending his tenure in Vietnam, Michael retired as captain and came back to his family in Germany, where they befriended Elizabeth and her husband George Ratliff, who was also a captain in the army. Both families used to spend a good deal of time in each other's company, and therefore their bond was famous among the neighborhood. Michael and Patricia became parents of two sons, Todd and Clayton, while George and Elizabeth gave birth to two daughters, Martha and Margaret. Yeah, none of the kids were home because they actually had to call one of Michael's sons to apparently calm him down. None of them were aware of what was coming next to them. Elizabeth and George were unaware of how their lives were going to change in 1983. Tragedy struck the family when George was killed in a military operation. I wonder if Michael Peterson was involved in that military operation, actually. Really, Deb? That's a theory. Elizabeth was shocked by the news while frightened at the same time about how she would be able to raise their two daughters alone. That was the time when she began to rely upon Michael and Patricia more than anyone. They used to eat together, and Michael even helped Elizabeth take care of her daughters. That's weird to me. Wouldn't you think his wife Patricia would be more than willing to take care of the daughters, or at least help out? Why is it Michael? But just like before, everything changed once again, and the Ratliff family had to face another trauma as Elizabeth was found dead on the stairs of her home in Germany. There were claims that Michael was the last person who saw Elizabeth before she died, and therefore he was suspected for her murder as well. 43-year-old mother of two daughters died on November 27th, 1985, when her children's nanny, Barbara Malingo, found her lying at the bottom of the staircase. As soon as she saw the body, she immediately called Patricia Peterson, her neighbor, for help. She then called the police and both ladies gave their statements of what they had seen in the home, according to Barbara. The hell was that? Everything was in place except that Elizabeth was lying on the staircase with no signs of life. However, there was not that much blood around her. Yeah, Dad. That's the thing, because there's two of them. Yeah. Soon after the German police started their investigation, they declared Elizabeth's death an accident. When her death case was mentioned during Michael's trial for the murder of his second wife, Kathleen Peterson, the prosecutor called Patricia as the prime witness. Patricia said, I was sitting here directly observing when the German medical examiner took a spinal tap and held up the contents so that he could view it, said Patty. Even from this distance, I could see that it did not look clear. And that's when he made the statement right there by her body in my presence that she had died of a cerebral hemorrhage. What? No autopsy? Michael and Patricia took the responsibility of the two orphan girls, Margaret and Martha, with an intention to provide them with as normal a life as their parents would have given them. The family lived a normal life until the couple, Michael and Patricia, decided to separate in the following year. Michael, along with Margaret and Martha, moved to the U.S. Patricia remained in their Durham home with their two sons, Todd and Clayton. That's two autopsies now that weren't done. I thought autopsies were mandatory. I don't know when they started doing that. but, well, a long time ago. I'm confused. So the exhumation. During the retrial hearing of Kathleen's murder, which was nowhere near to being an accident, in my opinion, the police department got their prime suspect, Michael, who was the last person to see Kathleen, considering the deviations between what he said about the incident and what they had actually found. As soon as the prosecution looked into the death of Elizabeth and noticed the coincidence between the two cases, Kathleen's death took another twist, and this time the investigation went down to another retrial. Since she also fell down the stairs and the German police declared it was an accident without giving much attention to the investigation, the Superior Court ordered the police department to exhume Elizabeth's body from her grave in Texas so that her injuries could be reassessed in order to be certain about the actual cause of her death. The court's major intention was to ensure that whatever had been assumed for 17 years was either true or there was something they still needed attention. That still needed attention. See, I always thought they were mandatory. I don't know why, but everybody has an autopsy because you just never know. I guess I must be wrong. That's what I don't know. That's why what I always thought, anyways. Permission was taken from Elizabeth's sister and mother, and the authorities acted as per orders and made arrangements for the exhumation. Michael was quite upset at the court's decision to exhume Elizabeth's body for re-examination. Yeah, I wonder why. Following the court's instructions, the state medical examiner carried out a second autopsy on what? On April 16, 2003. Although David Rudolph, Michael's lawyer, requested to appoint a neutral pathologist for Elizabeth's autopsy, ignoring her request, the district they did do an autopsy on her? What the fuck? Then okay, now I'm really confused. Following the court's instructions, the state medical examiner carried out a second autopsy. So Elizabeth did have an autopsy. I am so confused. Okay, so he did the spinal tap, looked at the spinal tap. The fluid was cloudy, therefore he ruled it hemorrhaging, right? And that's why she died. But there was also an autopsy done, but we don't know the results of that. And now they're doing another one. I'm so confused. So the second autopsy on April 16, 2003. Although David Rudolph, Michael's lawyer, requested to appoint a neutral pathologist for Elizabeth's autopsy, ignoring his request, the district attorney appointed Dr. Leba L. Radish for the job since she was the state pathologist. Yeah, I don't remember this at all either. So Elizabeth did have one, and now she's getting another one. Then that medical examiner that first did the autopsy should be fired. Her reports concluded that the injuries on Elizabeth Ratliff's head were due to a homicidal assault. Boom. Wow. Contrary to what was reported on her death certificate, the facts were pointing towards Michael's involvement in her death as well, since he was the last person who had seen Elizabeth before her so-called fall. To defend his client, David Rudolph claimed that the wordings used in the reports were quite inflammatory and wrong with respect to what could be present in the autopsy. Comparing Deborah's autopsy with 260 autopsies from blunt trauma, he made a lot of objections on her credibility. For him, the claim of multiple force impact was blunt and misleading. According to Deborah's autopsy, there were 7 deep lacerations similar to Kathleen's. Holy shit. Whoa. So there's 7 on both of them. Lucky number 7, I guess. On Elizabeth's head, which were caused due to blunt force trauma. The state pathologist explained that the actual injuries were quite different from what victims usually had when they fall down a few stairs. Instead, they are the clear sign of multiple force impacts. She shared her views that these injuries were caused when she was alive. The report by the pathologist was submitted to the Superior Court as supporting evidence for the prosecution to strengthen their claims that Michael was the murderer. Everyone present in Elizabeth's aftermath was called to give statements, while the state pathologist who was brought to the witness stand to tell of her analysis on Mrs. Ratliff's injuries and those similarities with Kathleen's death. Hey, SD. Here, the considering aspect is that Elizabeth's death facts wouldn't have much impact over the jury because the case was quite old, but Michael's conviction in Kathleen's murder in October 2003 should be easy to figure out. The decision turned out to be unanimous by the jury. What? Upon seeing the evidence against their guardian, Martha and Margaret, daughters of Elizabeth Ratliff, still stood by Michael and showed their complete support to him. Wow. They believed that their mother's death was an accident, and for them, Michael was innocent. Yeah, Anna, that's what I mean. I'm pretty sure they have to. It's mandatory. So the conclusion of Elizabeth Ratliff was still confusing as there was no clear evidence of Michael's involvement in her death. How about the fact that he was there? He was the last person to see her, and now he's got custody of her fucking kids. That's a huge involvement. Though some people believe that the two were having an illicit relationship, this was strenuously denied by his first wife, Patricia Peterson. Well, that's because Patricia Peterson would have denied that. I would have denied that. I don't know, Patty. It looks like no. Like it was admitted, yeah, but because the case was old, it didn't help. That doesn't even make sense. Oh my God. Defense team raises 10 reasons why Michael Peterson would not have killed Kathleen. Uh-huh. David Rudolph is an accomplished attorney who represented the troubled novelist fully. On Thursday, October 2nd, 2003, he presented a top 10 list of why Michael would never have killed Kathleen. Yeah, okay. First, there was no longer a missing murder item because the suspected blowpoke had been found and showed no evidence of having been used in the said attack. That doesn't make sense, and that shouldn't have been admitted anyways because the blowpoke was not there in the first place when police searched it. So that does not make fucking sense to Nikki. Second, there was no clear intent on why Michael Peterson would have any reason to hurt Kathleen. There was just no motive. Money was a factor. Third, he argued that a close couple without any previous instances of hostility could just not have initiated violence with a brutal murder. Yeah, because he killed Elizabeth, so there's some hostility, and he's just a dick. So I don't know, something about him. Fourth, all court attendees would agree that the emotions and grief portrayed by Peterson throughout the trial all came out of sincerity and genuinely from the heart. Bullshit. Fifth, a beating leading to death would cause brain bruising from trauma and fractures to the skull and other parts of the body. Therefore, Kathleen Peterson definitely did not die from a beating as no such injuries were found on the victim at autopsy. Yeah, that could be because she was dead. You don't bleed or your body won't swell or anything after death. And number six, focused on the bloodstain evidence, which showed not to have any resemblance to a beating incident due to the following reasons. A, the fact that no cast off was visible on the ceilings and walls certainly disobeyed physics laws, but there was, I just read that earlier. There was at the top of stairway, there was not blood transfer, there was cast off. Yes, there fucking was. So that's stupid. B, the wall had spatter on it, which, upon analysis, would not have resulted from Kathleen Peterson's head getting smashed. Yeah, okay. C, the quantity of spatter on the walls made it impossible. What the fuck? Okay, so A, the fact that no cast off was visible on ceilings and walls certainly disobeyed physics laws, but then B and C, they're saying there was. Huh? The quantity of spatter on the walls made it impossible for Kathleen Peterson's death to have resulted from a beating because the suspect's sneakers and socks would have had more blood than was found. How much more blood do they need? D. If Michael Peterson had indeed committed the murder, his glasses and watch would have sustained a substantial amount of spatter relative to the amount witnessed on the walls, which was not the case. Maybe he wasn't wearing his glasses? No, they were all wooden. E. If indeed a beating had occurred during that fateful day, the suspect Michael Peterson would most likely have gotten spatter on the front of his shirt. He did, though, rather than on the backside where blood was found. F. The theory of dilution that the state presented was totally senseless. G. The victim's pants tested positive for a shoe print, but it faced away from her body. What the fuck? H, the empty area was not a cleanup, but a shadow, as Dr. Lee had explained. Wow. Seventh, purported documentation and information from the crime scene were unreliable. It was garbage coming in, garbage going out. Eighth, whereas science relies on true facts, the state and Michael Peterson's first degree murder trial seemed to ignore real science restrictions and seemed to lean more toward junk science. Ninth, the state seemed to have been led by guesswork and emotion throughout Peterson's murder trial. And 10th, to conclude the magical list, defense attorney Rudolph likened the investigation by the state to tunnel vision, asking for an indictment before presenting sufficient evidence. Yeah, I'm pissed. This was on Forensic Files too, if you guys want to watch that, or if you guys ever watch it. It is actually season 11, episode 22. Right, Deb? It doesn't they never said that they did an autopsy, but this new Dr. Elizabeth said when they did the excavation and they did a second autopsy on Elizabeth, but they never said they did it the first time, so I'm still confused. I'm just gonna write this down in case you guys want to watch it. So I don't know if you guys know the show Forensic Files. I love it. I watch it all the time. Season 11, it was what? Episode 22. They have it on Netflix. Yeah, Anna. And yeah, same Deb. I'm confused. His fucking shoe print is on her her pants, okay? Where's that? I gotta find it. Uh, where's the shoe print? Okay, here's the shoe print. Hold on. There's her joggers, and there's his fucking footprint on it. There's the actual shoe he was wearing. How does one beat the shit out of their head on the way down those stairs? It isn't logical at all. Blood going down those stairs. Exactly. Oh, you saw it on Saturday? It doesn't make sense. The there is a photo of her dead at the bottom of the staircase in color. There's another one when they remove the body and all the blood. It's pretty fucking graphic. So there's the show and the episode if you guys want to watch it. It's on Netflix. I'm actually gonna watch it tonight probably. Or I can play it on my channel and watch it together. Yeah, so I don't know. It's up to you guys if you want to see it. I'm just letting you know it's really bad. October 3rd, 2003, saw the prosecutors presenting their closing argument. They argued that although the deceased could not personally testify in the case, the circumstances surrounding her death and the evidence found at the murder scene was enough to convict the novelist. Prosecutor Jim Harden stayed an emotional closing argument referring to a photograph from the stairwell where the late Kathleen Peterson had met her fate. Pointing to the blood-spattered walls, the legal expert submitted that, from the red-stained walls, the victim is screaming out loud for justice to be served and the truth established. Yeah, they were narrow. Yeah, I'm just finding out in this chapter too. You're right, Dad. It's narrow stairs. There was no room for her to swing around willy-nilly and smack everything on her way down. Basically, would have been a straight line. Yeah, exactly. I won't show her body, but do you guys want to see all the blood that was left when they removed it? If not, I won't. You guys can Google that. Mr. Hardin further advised the court that the case was a simple matter of common sense, addressing the kind of injuries the victim had, sustained as well as the blood spatter found at the murder scene. He said even if one was to fall down the stairs, there was no practically possible way that one would sustain 38 injuries, 38 over their back, face, head, wrists, and hands, even if the victim underwent two falls. In Kathleen's case, the stairs fall theory is absolutely senseless. She would have bruises and stuff like she'd have bruises and cuts and scrapes all over her body, not just oh my god, her hands and her wrists. That means she was holding up her hands to stop the blows. All right, I'll show it. If I can find one without her there. This isn't a close up, but this um okay, there's quite a few. That's a lot. Holy fuck. What are we watching tonight? I'm not watching well, I don't know what I'm watching. I do wanna watch that movie Adam, though. Tonight, oh, yeah, so for 7, I am gonna go live at 7 still, and this time I'm discussing spontaneous human combustion. Like, that'll be a cool little topic. Having taken the mantle from fellow counterpart Frida Black on submission of the final argument by the state, prosecutor Jim Hardin clearly expressed to the jury that Michael Peterson's alibi on the day of Kathleen's death was a lie. On the day of Kathleen's death was a lie. He stated that by following one's intuition, it is very clear that something does not add up in Michael Peterson's version of the story. Oh yeah, that I posted it, or not posted it. Sorry, I typed it up top. The show Forensic Files. I was going to check it out. It's got it actually has a staircase murder on it, and it's on Netflix. So it's a show called Forensic Files. And what is it? It is season 11, episode 22. Prosecutor Frida Black reminded the court that they were dealing with a renowned novelist, Michael Peterson, to whom the case was just another story of fiction in the making. The prosecution maintained that the 59-year-old had not been by the pool as claimed, but instead had clobbered his wife using a rounded blunt object. The recovery of the missing blow poke in the basement garage of his North Carolina mansion also raised eyebrows, as the item had gone missing from the house in mysterious circumstances. Good, it should raise eyebrows because that's what I want to know. How is it missing and then all of a sudden found? That doesn't make sense. Here, I'll put it in here again. It's a show. I've already seen it, but I want to watch it again. Oh, you got it, Deb? Okay. And they titled it A Novel Idea. That's what they titled it. The jury deliberates. So on October 6, 2003, the case was turned over to the jury to determine whether Michael Peterson indeed killed his wife or lost her to a staircase fall accident. The jury was comprised of 7 women, 3 of whom were nurses and 5 men. There's a whole movie too on Netflix called The Staircase. Ooh, cool. We should watch that. I think I'm just gonna play on here when we get towards the end and stuff. Well, when we get to the end, I'm gonna play the forensic part, the show on here. I think I've seen it, Patty. I just haven't seen it in forever. A drunk and disorderly juror who had been detained the previous evening for inappropriate behavior lost his seat in the panel to a 37-year-old female alternate juror. The manager at an institute of clinical research and mother of 2 children was elected as the foreperson of the jury. Judge Hudson dismissed Wilfred Ellis Ham, a former carpenter, from the jury panel and assured jurors all records of proceedings would be sealed. Another juror, Joanne Rebecca Hairston, was shown the door when it emerged that she mocked the accused, who was a customer at the bank where she was employed. Okay, I'll play it here, Anna, when we're done the book. During the first few days, the jurors requested several pieces of evidence in their deliberation sessions, which were brought in by the court clerks. Some of the evidence items requested were the 4 blowpokes that had largely dominated Peterson's murder trial, blood spattered shoes, and a boom box that could play Michael's call to the 911 for the jury. That's what I usually do too, Mom. I'll find somebody who's live, or even if they're not live, just put something on that's interesting I can learn from. Thursday, October 8th, 2003, saw the day end on a usual note with Judge Orlando Hudson warning jurors to be wary of any media exposure on the case until it was closed. However, the ever-praying media hawks never sleep. One juror produced an invitation letter from a local TV station to discuss the case live after a verdict had been reached. Pfeiffer, a local reporter, had sent the letter to the jury stating, "Your thoughts on the case would be much appreciated as the evidence phase has already passed." In an ongoing case, the media should not engage active jurors until they have completed the deliberation stage. Any such act can hold such media houses or individuals in contempt, as was the case with the Philadelphia Magazine staff writer Carol Saline in 2002 when she engaged a juror in the murder trial of Rabbi Fred Newlander. The jurors also cross-checked testimonies from 2 key witnesses: North Carolina Chief Medical Examiner John Butts and Duke University engineering professor James McElhaney, but asserted that since only a microscope amount of blood had been found in Kathleen's lungs, it was not possible that she could have coughed up blood to stain the stairwell as insinuated by the defense. Hey, Heavenly Cow. Dr. McElhaney, an expert in the field of injury biomechanics, also ruled out any possibility of the victim's head wounds having resulted from a staircase fall. Judge Orlando Hudson cautioned the jurors to keep their eyes and ears open, jokingly stating that having 12 jurors in total was for, among other reasons, so that the courtroom would have 24 ears and 24 eyes at all times. This bastard's smiling. Wow. The verdict. It only took the jury a few days to reach its decision. It was a memorable day on Friday, October 10th, 2003, when the moment everyone had been waiting for arrived. No one heard the knock Friday except Sheriff's Deputy Brian Mister. He opened the deliberation room door, listened for an instant, then closed it. He turned to the dozens of people keeping vigil in the courtroom number 1 and said, "We have a verdict." Peterson took his seat between his attorneys. His family huddled in the gallery. Superior Court Judge Orlando Hudson brought in the jury, and the forewarned produced a manila envelope. Mr. delivered it to Hudson, who handed it to the court clerk, Angela Kelly. She withdrew a sheet of paper and read it. State of North Carolina versus Michael Iber Peterson. File number 1. We, the 12 members of the jury, unanimously find the defendant to be guilty of first-degree murder this the 10th day of October 2003. Oh, there you go, Anna. I was thinking of playing it anyways on this. Or playing it while I go live. It's only short. They're really small episodes. The blood drained from Mike Peterson's face, and for a moment, he did not move. Good. The jury convicted Peterson of battering his late wife Catherine to death in their North Carolina home. Emotions ran high in the courtroom with the occasional click and clack of cameras from the photographers, hungrily taping the moment and running for the doors to report the breaking news. Elizabeth Ratliff's 2 daughters, who had been raised by Peterson, seemed most affected by the proceedings. When the verdict was read aloud by the court clerk, Martha and Margaret Ratliff cried quietly and were only calmed down by Peterson's sons, Todd and Clayton. Their father struggled to keep his composure, and upon getting a last chance to speak from Judge Orlando Hudson before his sentencing, he told his children that it's okay. That was so much calm from a man who was about to spend the rest of his life in prison without any possibility of parole. You know, Dad, when you were saying that, you think maybe Martha or Margaret did it, right? Maybe all the kids knew that, and that's why they all presume he's innocent. Michael Peterson's defense attorney, David Rudolph, had put up but no, it can't be because this happened to him twice. Doesn't make sense. Michael Peterson's defense attorney, David Rudolph, had put up a spirited fight during the trial and stated that he would certainly file an appeal against the ruling. He watched sadly as his client left the courtroom in handcuffs to a lifetime in prison. The Ratliffs sobbed watching their dad being taken away, and even Michael's reassurance that it's all right didn't seem to calm them down. Having been a newspaper columnist at one point, Michael Peterson had received a lot of support from the surrounding community throughout this trial. This made prosecutors decide to not pursue a death penalty against him. Really? Because of support he got from the community? Are you fucking kidding me? He murdered his wife. During his trial, Michael Peterson had been free on bail of $850,000, but after the verdict, that freedom ended. Although having announced that he would file up an appeal, defense lawyer David Rudolph did not request a bond hearing. The 3-month trial had been a rigorous one, with over 800 items of evidence analyzed and 65 witnesses taking the stand. One juror admitted that the beginning of the deliberations was not a smooth phase, as the direction kept shifting and several votes had to be taken to sort it out. Prosecutor Frida Black, however, emphasized with the Peterson and Ratliff family, although she felt that justice had been served in the case. The prosecution has successfully convinced the jury to overlook Michael Peterson's fictional plan of covering up the murder as an accident. The novelist's close family, however, had a tough moment on their hands with Frida Black noting that. My heart goes out to the Peterson and Ratliff families, for they harbor genuine feelings for Mr. Peterson, and it will be a very difficult day witnessing his sentencing. It is weird. Very weird. Oh my God. I'm not going to read this now because my son's going to be home in a minute, but the next chapter for tomorrow, I'll be back at 3, is called The Owl or the Husband. Who's the real culprit? There you go, Deb. Oh my God. An owl could be a reason for Kathleen's death as she ran to protect herself. Fuck right off. So there is an owl in the goddamn book. Yeah, you were right, Patty. The owl did it. Maybe the gardener? Yeah, we might as well play Clue, right? Yep, that book pissed me off. It's not a long book, like I said, so I'll read tomorrow and probably what is tomorrow? Wednesday? Yeah, and then probably Thursday, and I think I'll be done because I'm already half done it almost. Yeah, unfriggin' believable. It was Colonel Mustard with the fire poker in the kitchen. Yes, it could be that, like Poltergeist style from the movie. Yeah, I do too. I do feel bad for them because they really truly believe that he was innocent. You cannot be innocent when you've had two of the same things happen to not only Kathleen, but a woman. I still don't understand how we got those kids. I still don't. And she's buried, and Elizabeth, was it Elizabeth? Or yeah, she was buried in Texas. So if that's the case, that would mean that she was out of Germany. So why did Michael get custody of those kids? That is weird artistic. I'm hungry. Tell it's supper time. Tomorrow I have a live. I have a bunch of screenshots, so I was gonna talk about that YouTuber, just point out the bullshit as usual. Um, she's trying to get people's sponsors taken away yet again. She's trying to get Mary to lose money from the Browns. I mean, this bitch don't stop. The son was his kid, believed him for a while, then changed his mind. Yeah, there's one that went kind of astray, right? But isn't that the one that ended up picking up the drug habit as well, Deb? Who's been on YouTube? I know I could do a video on her every day, Patty. That's how bad it is. It's like anybody who makes money, KJ flies in and is like, "Nope, you're not making money. I'm gonna call your sponsor so that gets taken away. I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna tell everybody not to support you and not go on these what is it? Christine had one. So because Christine blocked her, this is why she's doing it. She's trying all the sister wives, she's trying to get them all so that they don't have an income. It's fucking gross. So only KJ can make money? No, I don't think so. She is hateful and spiteful, very vindictive. Kathleen's daughter never believed him. Good. That's what, like, reading the book too, this earlier they were saying that yeah, her daughter was like, "No, I don't believe it." I believe, yeah. She assumed, not assumed, but she knew it was his fault. Like he did it or whatever. I did not realize though that there's two women that apparently fell down the stairs. Like, what? That is insane. So he must have thought, well, I got away with it, and because it was in Germany, he's now in the US, I'm gonna do it again, and I'll get away with it here. No, not so fast there, loser. Absolutely, Anna. She's very horrible. That's why I like doing videos on her and going live on her so that other people can see her contradictions and the evil that she really is. Thanks, Patty. Yeah, I'll need it. The first one was in Germany, yeah. That's what I mean. It was 2 different states, like and that was in Germany, so the states wouldn't know when he moved there, when he did it to Kathleen. Yeah, that's just not a coincidence. I wanna know why he wanted those fucking kids, though. Money? This is why he got away with it. Yeah. He's in his 70s now. So, I can't see him getting married again. Actually, I don't even know what he's up to. Okay, I just want to see the pictures that are in here. Oh, my son's home. I gotta go get supper cooking. I'm gonna put I'll put the photos up on the community tab from these chapters I just read tonight. And I'll be back tonight at 7 discussing um human combustion. So this will be neat. You guys have a good night and I'll catch you at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Bye guys.